Welcome back to A Tales of Two Bros. I am Angel.
I'm Adon.
And we have
Kimberly.
And this is our Sith-sational review of Book of Boba Fett. How long is it going to take? Like 2 minutes to review this? Or spoiler alert, here we go. Now, I just watched it again to torture myself, I guess.
You need a refresher?
Just a little bit.
Did you skip episodes 4 and 5?
No, I skipped episode 5 because 4 is Boba, 5 is not Boba, 6 is partial Boba. But anyway, Alan, initial take. What do you think of season 1?
I actually enjoyed it. I know.
That's fine. Kim, your initial take.
I started enjoying it, and then it just became a train wreck.
I second. I'm sorry for putting my finger in your face, Alan, with this thing too.
It's okay.
But my opinion, this show needed to be rewritten, redirected, and just redone. The Book of Boba Fett was more like excerpts of Boba Fett.
I can see that.
It was written by Jon Favreau for the majority of each episode, except for episode 6, the story of Grogu. That was Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, which he also directed, Dave Filoni. You have Robert Rodriguez, fame from doing all the Spy Kid movies, Sin City, Alita, also the Mariachi trilogy.
From Dusk to Dawn?
From Dusk to Dawn, yes, which he did half, and Quentin Tarantino did the other half.
Mm-hmm.
I think Robert Rodriguez needs to go back to directing school, especially for the action. In me, I was highly disappointed overall of the series, and not to go into much such detail because I really don't want to spend that much time on this review. As you can tell, I'm not big fan or a fan of this series, and I don't blame the producers. Like so many people blame Kathleen Kennedy. I do not. I do not blame Disney Studio. I blame Jon Favreau, and I blame Robert Rodriguez, who directed the majority of the episodes. Now, what did you like that we can get a feel or get an understanding? Because I said I watched pretty much every episode twice, and my biggest disappointment was that finale episode.
For me, Fennec. I loved her character, and I liked the actress who portrays her, and I thought her character was a great addition. She held it true to character. When they did have Boba, actually, when he was out of helmet, oddly enough, was more appealing of a character to me a lot of times, and how he was, trying to take over. You can kind of see him being like the guy who's like trying to go the honorable approach with everything, which led into how he was easily, betrayed by the, not too many spoilers, but easily betrayed in one point.
Spoiler away. It's going to happen when we talk. So continue on, then Kim will give her thoughts, and I'll hear the shit out of it on my thoughts.
I liked various aspects of it, and I thought that part was cool, and that was fun and entertaining. It was, for me, an expanse on the universe. So even though its focus is in the title, Book of Boba Fett, is really like expanding the characters of the universe. Because when you think of Tatooine, you don't think of chopper bike, gang, that are like half cyborg, half not. And then you don't think of like, I could have a Rancor as a pet and ride him. You don't think of those kind of things. And so it just expanded the universe. And then it brought the Pike Syndicate into the universe. And even though you got the Pike Syndicate in like Clone Wars and you got it in the Rebels, but that was all in the animation.
And the Bad Batch.
Mm-hmm. Now, I liked Cad Bane, but I also didn't like Cad Bane. But I'm going to leave my dislike for a little bit later.
Well, what did you like about Cad Bane?
I'm a fan of Cad Bane's character. And like, he just seems like an intimidating character that will come in. And it's like, he's definitely an homage to the Western forefront. So he's like a cool throwback. Essentially, that's all he is. He's a very cool throwback. Like when they first introduced his character and he's going against the sheriff, I was like, oh, that's the Cad Bane, man. That's how he should be. Mm-hmm. And then I'll go into what I didn't like about that after that.
Oh, is it about Cad Bane? That was the coolest part, you thought?
The part with him and Boba? No, it was not as cool, because here's the thing. If you don't follow the Clone Wars and you don't follow all the other stuff, all their dialogue back and forth, you get that they have a history, but it doesn't really seep how much of a history that they have. So that tension is lost.
Well, there is theory going on that Cad Bane did raise Boba after Jango passed away.
Well,
here's the thing. I'm gonna
I
leave it to
heard
Kim.
I heard a theory that also Cad Bane's the reason why there's a dent in Boba's helmet.
Right, because of a shot or something like that. So, Kim, what do you think overall?
I like how it began with the going back and forth with him, sort of where he was in, what was the monster?
The pit.
The
Yeah.
pit.
Yeah.
He was in the pit and how he got out of it and how he survived that, to present, to where he's in Tatooine. And it's just, I like how they transition that whole past and present and telling of that. And I was understanding it. And I was liking the fact that they're telling his story. They're giving me the idea of Boba, and I can relate to it, even though I don't know Boba from before this. So I like that part. But then all of a sudden, they decided, okay, we're going to stop giving you all of this present and backstory. And now we're bringing this other storyline into it. And it just kind of threw me off. And I didn't understand reason why. And I was confused. And I'm like, okay, what's going on now? What's happening? So that's where I got kind of hung up, and how he kind of survived that whole period and grew from it and ended up where he is now.
Okay, so she liked the dances with wolves moments.
As I was saying, I liked the first episode, but then the second episode came and it was okay, and then after that, it just kind of was like my liking became dislike.
So it started dropping after the third when they start doing the flashbacks. Got it. And now to you, sir.
I did like the flashbacks. I did like the fact that we saw how he escaped, even though we were told several years ago on Parks and Recreation how he survived, because it was done by
Pat Oswald.
He gave a whole filibuster and used the resurrection of Boba Fett in that filibuster several years before Book of Boba Fett came out, or Book of Boba Fett was a thought.
One could also make the argument that when Disney took over Star Wars, they actually retconned and wiped out anything that was considered canon prior to Disney. So, and that's talking about the written materials that is not like an official movie or anything like that.
Right. What's just called, they consider it legends.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying, on the show Parks and Recreation, I don't think it's owned by Disney because it's on NBC, not ABC. And he gave a whole explanation of how Boba Fett survived. And that's what they did. You can do it by sync. He's talking about it, and you see Boba Fett reaching out through the sand and all that stuff.
So they use that as a cheat sheet?
Probably, or let's say, you know what? Let's use that. Let's use that as a simple, easy explanation. So we'll use it.
I mean, that doesn't bother me. I mean, there's a lot of legacy stories that actually work very well.
Right. It makes sense.
Well, let me ask you this question. Why is it called the Book of Boba Fett? What does the book stand for?
The story of Boba Fett, or the legend of Boba Fett. It's another way.
Yeah, because you are getting his background story.
Granted, after watching the series, it should be called Boba Fett, or there's no need for a Book of Boba Fett. All right, so I'm about to go negative. But before we do that, what about you? What do you have?
Honestly,
anything else, or anything else that you thought was kind of cool?
The assassination scene, when like a lot of the scenes with Fennec, I was just really cool with like how she handled it. But like when she assassinated like all the group at the end finale, that's true Fennec. I'm like, she got to shine at that moment.
For me on that was, so she snuck in.
She walked out
the front door. I was like, why did you just walk out where you snuck in?
I mean,
there's probably guards out there, but anyway.
No, you heard gunfire before she, like, I assumed she already killed the guards. I'm like, why not just go out?
Right. I know. But the way she went out like sneaky, like she was coming, like had to watch her back and stuff like that. Yeah. That's why I said that. Because if that was the case, if everything was cleared out, she'll walked out like she normally walks out, like, all
casually.
And yeah.
Well, if there was anything else, so I know you weren't a big fan of the whole episode 5 Mandalorian part, because that took it away from Boba Fett, but as an individual episode, I will call that, like, when we're watching anime, a filler episode. Has nothing to do with the story except for maybe one part. I'm used to fillers. I've been trained very well by my anime. As a filler, it's a good episode. It's like it has a lot of stuff that's in there. It actually, you could have put it into any of the Mandalorian seasons.
Okay.
But I would have enjoyed that episode.
But in your anime that you watch, the series, what is the average episode count for each season?
Depending on the anime, 12 to 24 episodes.
This had 7.
The show could have easily been 6 episodes, maybe 5.
That's my thing. And with it being called the Book of Boba Fett, I expected Boba Fett. Especially when we know we have another season of The Mandalorian coming out. They could have easily put 5 and 6 together, edited, and then do a flashback story on him getting the new Naboo ship, him going to see Grogu to give him the armor protector. Because at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian, we were excited. We didn't know what's going to happen. We didn't know the deal with him, Grogu, and Luke, or Mando's struggle being with the Darksaber or being alone without Grogu for a while. We didn't get we didn't get that time of separation. We were like kind of forced into that world.
I don't disagree with you on this because I can see like how much more of a surprise and how much more entertaining would it have been if Mando just showed up. Like, she's like, I know where to get a guy. They start doing the episodes and then Mando shows up. And then as the episode's going, like for the finale, you see the baby shows up and she's like, how did you get here? Why are you here? That leaves us all with questions leading into.
The thing is, there was no need for Grogu here. It could have been definitely a story of just Mando and Boba.
Yeah.
Well, because even though they threw in Mandalorian and Grogu, it still gave us questions too. Because the thing about it is, like, when Grogu came to Tatooine, R2D2 was with him, and then all of a sudden you don't see R2D2 anymore.
I took it under
what happened to R2D2?
I took it under exception. He left. That was my assumption.
I thought also it was like, what was the mechanic's name? For one, I think she's force sensitive. 2, she's an idiot. She's like
a comedian or something like that.
Yeah, she's a comic relief.
No, but what I'm saying is, no, she brought Grogu into the heart of the fire.
Yeah.
In the final episode, when those scorpion droids came out and they're hitting and destroying buildings, there's shots fired that she can't hear that from a somewhat distance. And then she's going closer and closer, and there's debris falling, and she's getting closer and closer, bringing the youngling. Why would you do that?
That whole fighting
Kim got it.
scene.
Like they have her as comic relief, and honestly, I don't find her that funny at all. No offense to her, but I don't know if it's the writing or whatever. I've never been a fan of her character.
She became annoying. To me, she was annoying on that part.
Yeah.
You don't bring a youngling into a street fight, and then she's like, "Oh, hi. Look who I got. I got something for you. I got a surprise for you." And I was like,
yeah,
bitch, get out of there.
But that whole battle scene from start to end was a whole debacle.
It was, again, it felt forced. And
the Rancor was a little bit forced.
Rancor was like,
I will tell you.
Here's the thing. An episode of him, Boba, learning how to ride the Rancor or getting a better bond. That'd have been a great episode to see, similar to what they did with Mando riding that.
That could have been like episode 5 right there. After training with Danny Trejo, I would have actually loved. I like Danny Trejo as an actor. I would have loved to see him training to Rancor.
Exactly. They gave him. And that was an episode by Robert Rodriguez, I believe. There were so many opportunities missed. I know that there was a lot of reshoots done and stuff like that. I heard there was reshoots done like a week prior to the finale.
I can believe it. It was originally meant to be a movie, and then that got scrapped, and then they had to redo, reproduce, rewrite a lot of the different things. I feel like the first 3-4 episodes probably was like the original idea of what they had for a movie, and then it spiraled from there.
Well, I'm going to give my 2 cents.
Well, I will say this before you tear this one apart. One thing I admit I did not like, I was not a fan of the bikers.
Oh my God, thank you. Oh my God, thank you.
That's and they're Harley Davidson-esque.
Okay, how do you, on a Tatooine, on a planet of 2 suns, hardly any moisture, have prime bikes?
Gotta wax it all the time. A lot of wax.
But what? I mean, like, dude, that's a lot of wax. And I think
but they were like really shiny too.
Super shiny. Like, and okay, here's another nitpick because the mod gang, that's who they were. They're the mod squad.
Yeah.
which I thought was a useless group. It was not. They were not needed. But that leader, she was annoying and too
Oh, the way
freaking
she
pale.
held her gun.
She was too
So,
freaking pale for
and
one. For
that,
someone is in again on Tatooine. Your skin does not stay pale and moisturized. Your skin becomes leather.
I mean, was Luke pale in Star Wars, the first one? I felt like
Yes, no, he had some. He was white, but he had some like tan going on.
Okay.
But she was super pale. She was emperor pale. All right. And the way she moved, she didn't look like she was a person that survived on the streets. She always like was like this. And then her gun, she will point her gun to her chest when she was like talking to when she's behind the barriers. Girl, you're gonna shoot yourself. Like no firearms technician corrected her, but she was talking like this a lot.
Which looked like a Nerf Jolt pistol. It was like the world's smallest little thing. I'm like, are you holding the cricket from Men in Black?
The cricket from Men in Black.
Yeah.
The thing is, regardless of what gun she had, it was like she was pointing. Also, when Fennec comes to the rescue for them, they're like, "We need help. Where are you?" I said, "Bitch, just turn your head. Her speeder's right there." Because that's where she ended up. She did a front flip, landed, and you're like, "Oh, there you are. Her speeder is right there." I was like, "You didn't see that speeder, even though you're facing that direction, calling for help."
If it's not a chopper, it don't count. It's out of the visual spectrum.
What I'm just saying is like the editing and the action sequences were very bad.
I would have loved more from the Wookiee fight scene.
And also, they didn't show that in the sense that when he got attacked and bombarded and then he escapes, it's like they don't show that. I was like, we would have liked to see that. He gets piled on by 10 of those whatever things that he hates, the species. And then you see him again dragging pikes. I was like, no, wait a minute. What happened to the other ones?
Well, and the fact that he had looked like he had like a broken ankle, like walking along, dragging his ankle. And the next thing you know, he's running in the middle of the streets when
he has to run, he's like his ankle magically fixed.
I remember when they were like, the mod squad was like helping him walk and then they were getting shot at. And like the one guy with that one eye just like does a spin to do a shoot. And I was like, wow, this episode's full of posers. I'm thinking of like, I'm thinking of the line from like,
Elena would have been pissed. Elena would have been pissed.
Yes, that's what I was thinking about.
But also with Santo, the Wookiee, he got stabbed, shot, chopped with an axe a couple of times. No blood and no serious injuries where it kept him down.
Yeah, he got hit with all those guns.
I mean, he's the James Bond of the Wookiees, man. He is like if you watch any James Bond movie except for Daniel Craig, the last few, any James Bond movie, like James Bond will go through a nuclear explosion, come up with a nick on his cheek. That will be it. Suit still looking impeccable.
See, like the other episodes is okay. It can be viewed as okay. Where the last episode, it was just a slap in our faces.
It was a hot mess.
Boba and Mando had no real plan. Where Boba is a strategist, so is Mando. They have done this several times. How to escape a sticky situation, how to get the mark. But here they didn't have any plan, and it's like we're just gonna go out and shoot. And they did that. I said, guys, you have jetpacks. You don't have to stand there and shoot.
They did use their jetpacks.
But then they stopped and they just back to back start shooting everyone. And then they start getting hit again. It's like, fly out of there. That's the same thing in the first episode where Boba and Fennec get surrounded by those guys, by the Night Wind, the assassins of the Night Wind.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to fight them off where Boba could just flown up and then been safe. I mean, there's so much things that you can nitpick or really think about. And here's one. His skin is scarred because of the acid. But why is his head scarred when he had the helmet on? I can understand his sides, his legs, his arms, because he was wearing the armor plus the clothing.
Yeah.
Right? But he never took the helmet off. It was actually taken off by the Jawas that found him at night, or they found him laying down. But he was never burnt on his head. The armor never corroded, but his clothing did. But yet you see him, he has the scars. And some more nitpicking, he's in the Bacta tank. He has nothing to protect his nose. Every character was in the Bacta tank had a mouthpiece to breathe, but their nose were pinched for it not go in. Luke had it. Anakin had it when he was in Rogue One, when he was in the Bacta tank. Oh, and the end scene, and that end scene made no sense either.
For the sheriff,
episode 7, the marshal, where
he had it in his mouth.
Right, but did he have anything on his nose? No.
Basically, they're just
And-
saying that the marshal's going to come back. He's going to live, and he's probably going to become a mod.
Why would he become a mod when he got shot in the shoulder? His shooting arm. Did it destroy his limbs that he can't? He's in a bacta tank that can heal. So why would he need to be modded?
I mean, you could. I don't know if it destroyed it or not because like your audio's out again.
Really? Okay. One cool scene was the train scene.
Yeah.
With
Mhm.
Tusken Raiders and all that stuff. But we've seen that before. We saw that with Solo.
Mhm.
We saw that on Mando, second season
Yeah.
2.
But it was actually the fact that it was helping the relationship with his relationship with the Tusken.
No, that's clear.
He's
That's
complimenting
clear.
the scene itself, the
Smack
sequence. Well, since we were talking about
Seen it
negatives, they kind of took away the whole thing about telling him about the Pike gang killing his tribe seemed like a mute point because for one, Cad Bane had nothing involved with that. If they showed Cad Bane was the reason why the tribe was destroyed, like he was the hired gun to actually destroy the tribe and framed it on the biker gang, that would make more sense. And then that would make it so that Mando will have a reason why to like gun him down more so. But now that he knows that the Pike gang was the cause and Fennec was the one that took care of the leaders of the Pike gang there, kind of takes away that drive that he would have had. You see what I'm getting at? And I agree with you. You had a lot of moments of missed opportunity. You're right. That building of the relationship, and this is why Kim loved it. She loved the building of the relationship with him in the tribe. And they had good sequences and they had good background. But when you add that second half, it didn't really tie the beginning half with it.
But how about this? What about his, lack for a better term, his sensei? She was badass, yet she's nowhere to be found.
It's assumed that she was killed with the rest of the tribe.
How? When she was a complete badass and can take out anyone on her own. I mean, it would have been awesome if she made an appearance at the final stand.
I agree.
Like she was there and, and watching, trying to protect him, just watching over him because he is the last of her tribe. He's adopted into that tribe, but he's the last of that one.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have just been cool. But granted, I don't remember seeing her in the dead or anything, but we just assumed it.
Yeah. Well, you don't see, all you see is people in masks and hoods. So,
right. But you don't see, she's the only one with that hood, that type of hood.
mm-hmm.
But
he burned all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But you thought you would have seen that. We would have seen that. But the biggest gripe I have here is they made Boba another Mandalorian, another bounty hunter soft. We see that transition with Mando when as soon as he met Grogu, he started having a different point of view, a different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Boba, same thing here. After being left for dead, I guess twice with the Jawas and with Jabba, he meets this tribe, but then he wants to rule with a soft hand. He's a leader of a crime syndicate. He's a crime lord, but now he wants to be like an anti-hero.
I thought he was trying to be like the new sheriff in town kind of situation.
But no, but he wasn't. Well, he's the crime lord of that district of Mos Espa.
Mm-hmm.
But even Cad Bane even said that to him.
He got soft.
You got stopped. You're not a killer anymore.
Exactly right. So I would like to have seen that contrast of him and Mando. We got to establish with Mando having a change of heart because he has a youngling to care for because he saw himself in Grogu. Boba was a loner. Yes, he was taken in by a family and he could have taken that training, that bond that he had with them and make it to something else, but still be someone to be feared.
True.
And they'd be solid. People weren't feared. That the pale chick was talking crap to him. If he was as he was, her tone, her take on him wouldn't have been like that. She would have been more respectful. She was pretty much saying F you to him until he hired them. I don't know. I was like, there's no need to have two soft bounty hunters.
But Fennec, she was the one that was sort of like you're being too soft.
Right.
You need to toughen up. And she actually ended up, being the killer in the end.
Well, she did what needed to be done.
Even though she was a little MIA towards the end until finally you're like, oh, okay, now she reappears and she shows up and she does her job kind of thing. She was the one that basically was trying to tell Boba, trying to get him to reason, trying to get him out of the softness.
Right. That's why he took her. He took her in for the brains and the brawn because
Yeah.
she's both. He said that in one of the flashbacks. And what did he do? He hardly listened to her, and things ensued, and people got killed.
Well, then she ended up taking
things
in her own hands.
Right. And that's not good, in my opinion. I don't. I mean,
well,
yeah,
he actually sent
but
her when things started popping off. He's like, they're making a surgical strike. We need to. I forget what his words were, but when she popped up in the end, I'm like, it made sense. Like he basically said, "Go to." No, he asked her where you think where they're gonna be, and that's when the head tails.
I thought she went to go get someone.
Two things. It was to free up some of the men if they were available, and then her job was basically get to the destination wherever all the heads were.
I stand corrected because I didn't catch that. I thought she went.
It was like
he told her
very quick moment.
and I'm upset with that. They killed Jennifer Beals' character and that cantina. I was like, man, that was a cool spot, and they took him out. But
which made no sense why they did that.
Well, it does in story, but they could have done it a different way. But let's go back to Cad Bane and why you were upset or didn't like Cad Bane.
As I mentioned, there is history there, but none of us have like a like definitive history unless it was like from what we saw in the animations, like of Rebels, Bad Batch, and Clone Wars. But it's not as big a history with him with Boba, except for maybe one or two things that were maybe referenced in those previous animations. I watched it, and as an outsider in, I don't remember everything about it, but I'm like, obviously there's history here, but it's not really tying to the animosity. And then Cad Bane kept repeating about how he lost his new family and his new items, and I'm like, why is that relevant? You weren't there, you're not going to help him, obviously, so why is it you throwing this at him? Unless he was like you said, the fan theory where he was a father figure to Boba at one point in time and helped to raise Boba, but we don't have that history. So that makes no sense if that it turns out not to be the case.
Well, that could be done in another time. My gripe with Cad Bane, or the usage of Cad Bane, is that so damn short. He was a fan fave since he showed up in the Clone Wars. He was the new bad guy. And to be taken out that way, and quite easily, if you will, pretty disappointing. Granted, no one really stays dead in the Star Wars universe. They're like comic book characters.
True.
You may find another way where, even though he got hit in the chest where normally that's our heart, his heart could be somewhere else.
He does dabble in cybernetics.
That light that he had on his jacket or whatever
started beeping.
Yeah. It never stopped.
That's one thing, but still to go that route and saying that or imply that he was dead in that way, it was not satisfying or unsatisfying. Not that I want him to be taken out. I would love to have seen him like live, because we've seen him in the Bad Batch and Clone Wars where he's doing crazy feats. He's flying. He steals the show. Now, granted, and I do love that they used the same voice actor, and the CGI for Cad Bane in the show was awesome. He, for me, was the highlight of the series. And Santo, I know you like Fennec, but Santo, the Wookiee, he was awesome too. But
I think the fact that they took the characters from animation and put them into real life, I think that was the all aspiring, like, oh my gosh, they're actually in the show.
Well, and that was a cool execution, because Santo is in the comics, and where Cad Bane was like from the animation, and like they literally brought them to life.
Yes, to see a live version of these characters is great. Is there anything? I mean, I can rag on this from here to lose my breath.
Oh, what about Luke Skywalker?
I will give him this. The animation for Luke Skywalker was better.
The animation was better. The hair was better.
Mark Hamill did not do the voice.
From what I saw in the making of season 2 of Mando, he didn't do the voice back then either. It was all computer generated.
If that's the case, then they've definitely made improvements on how to display him and use his voice.
Right. But I do like that his black outfit is not the same outfit that we see in Return of the Jedi or the end of Mando season 2. His outfit's more reminiscent of Japanese, where it's going across instead of the collar, the high collar and the button up. More like, I guess, more like the Jedi Order, where they wear that. But instead of wearing a robe essence outfit, he still has the pants. But again, I wish they show that and waited for season 3.
I mean,
for me, I just wanted the Book of Boba to be centered around Boba and his crew. Oh, and there you go. So here's another thing that I got a gripe. In season 2 of The Mandalorian, Boba found him, Mando, through a tracking device on the armor.
Yeah.
That's how he followed him, right? So how come he took the slave one and went back to the pit to look for the armor if he knows that the armor has a tracking beacon?
I have no idea.
See?
Wait, he knew the sheriff had the armor
I think he needed the ship to go
and track the armor.
And track the armor.
Okay. Oh, that works.
Because he had no technology on him when he was with the Tuskens.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
But he had it with the ship. But he, instead of doing that to look for it, and he went to the pit to look for it. Granted, when he got out, he was exhausted. He was dehydrated. We don't know how long he was in the pit and how long it took him out, because he probably got out of sure will, and even though he was exhausted. So when he got robbed, he probably didn't know he was robbed, or he didn't know he still had the armor on at that time. But again, I mean, stuff like that, I was like, there's some inconsistency here, because I remember him saying that to Mando. They tracked you, blah blah blah. So that's one of the things.
Oh, they died.
Well, yeah,
or did they? Because we didn't hear them land.
Bro.
We saw them fall, but we didn't hear them land. We didn't hear no.
Those things do
but
not
the
survive
thing
that kind of
about it is
profile.
that, like they made a big deal about, like, Boba was basically saying that you have to be loyal to me, kind of thing, and they're like, okay, yeah, you'll be loyal, and then Boba doesn't like recognize them anymore, in the fact that, okay, they're gone, they went to their death, and it's like, what about my guard?
Oh, she's talking about at the end, like everybody else has to just doing it.
Well, yeah, or maybe
that was the kind of thing in Star
okay.
Wars. That species in Star Wars has always been overlooked. They're like, we use them as guards, we use them as Swiss soldiers. They are cannon fodder. They are the red shirts.
But he made a point to tell them that if you're gonna be loyal to Jabba, you have to be loyal to me. He made a big deal about that.
Yeah, but also there you go. So we see at the end of season 2, the intro to Book of Boba Fett of season 2 of Mando. Boba is still a cold-hearted killer.
Yeah,
because he shot Bib Fortuna like without a blink, pushed him off, sat on his throne, and then that badass killer went away. I got excited when I saw that scene at the end of season 2, and then this time I was like, oh, they went a different route. And that's another thing I have an issue with, because Jon Favreau did Iron Man, which was amazing, but he also did Iron Man 2, which was a bleh. That's a problem with Jon Favreau. When he's good for one and done, but when he does sequels, there's some problem. Mando season 2 was awesome, but it wasn't just him. It was him and Dave Filoni and him and other directors. There was a pool of talent working that season. And this season, there was one writer and a small handful of directors, where other seasons or the other episodes of Mando, there's several directors, and they did like 2 episodes each, pretty much. But anyway, there's so much to go on and on and on about this. I wrote it down, but I'm not gonna go through that and torture you guys. Maybe on another one, maybe on a second thought review. But based on season 1, is this worth watching, or is it a waste of time?
I think it's worth watching. Like, obviously worth watching, because you're going to start, when you start watching it, you're going to be like, oh, okay, this is taking an interesting route. But then when you continue to go to episode 2, 3, and then you're like, where are you going? I just felt like they went down a path, and then all of a sudden they took a right, and you weren't expecting it, and then all of a sudden they took a left, and it's just like, the storyline was very choppy. It wasn't harmonious. I don't know. It was like taking a couple of books. If you have like a series, and you read one of them, but then you read the 4th, and then you read the 7th, and then all of a sudden you go back to the 2nd, and then it's just all over the place. And that's how I felt like with this.
I have another gripe. Here we go. Before I give my review. So again, there's a lot of it goes with episode 7. So the Rancor, we see the Rancor, and I couldn't help but think of King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yes.
What are those beasts called? They call them, I forgot the type
kaijus.
Called. Kaijus, right. So the Scorpion droids, when they appeared, they're pretty much shooting left and right, hitting anything they could, trying to take down those rebels, if you will, shooting at Mando, shooting at Boba, shooting at Santo, all that stuff, pretty much nonstop. The Rancor shows up. They do very little shooting at the Rancor. The biggest target they could hit, 1 or twice. Yes, it got hit. and it went down and it got right back up. That's another thing. It seemed like whenever someone got shot or got shot, there was never really taken out, even though those shots were pretty much death blows, if you will. They were never taken out. Granted, some other people were, but the heroes or the stars of the show were not. The many times as Santo got hit, shot at, stabbed, and how many times the Rancor got shot, you would think it would have been in trouble moving or surviving.
Yeah.
But it did.
It had
And
armor for a little bit.
Where? The skin armor? That's it?
No, it was around the neck.
Around the neck?
Yeah, they had like a big old
It
armor
was getting
plate.
shot in the torso. It was getting shot in the arms and the leg. It was getting shot everywhere else.
I'm finding alibis for this story.
Oh, so I mean, again, that's where I find it so weak and lazy in this execution of the storytelling. Again, it was an hour-long episode, or not really. It was definitely shorter because of the credits, but
It seemed like an hour long.
well, it seemed like forever. And it didn't have to be. Now, my review, is it worth watching? If you are a diehard Star Wars fan, I would say go ahead. If you are, if you need to know everything that is being done, watch it. Can you survive without watching this season or series? Yes, you can. I have mixed feelings. If they did a better job of editing, better job of writing the story of Boba, enjoyed it. I mean, we had flashbacks of Boba as a kid when he was on that wet planet. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And watching him watch Slave One fly away. But we had no flashbacks of him as a teenager, as a young adult. And you would think a Book of Boba Fett, you will have that as a backstory as well. Maybe we'll see that in season 2 because the actor is still alive and he's still young enough to play a young Boba. Heck, he did the voice for Clone Wars.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, I was seeing it like more like a Jesus Christ kind of thing in a way of how it's written in the Bible. In the Bible, Jesus Christ, we get his birth. We get him to when he's like 11 years old, his story, and then it disappears. We don't see anything until like maybe 3 years before his death. He comes back.
Okay.
Adult years, it's non-existent. That's what's missing. And so I hope in season 2, they get that actor back.
There's gonna be a season 2.
Yeah, we saw
Yeah.
we saw the epilogue scene, didn't we?
They're gonna do it.
The epilogue scene could be for Mando as well, because
Or a spinoff.
I love the Marshal. He
Yeah.
was awesome. If they didn't make this series, I would have been okay with it.
What about you?
Mhm.
Well, I'm not done yet,
Oh, I'm sorry.
because for me overall, it is a waste of time.
Did you do it twice?
I saw
Yeah,
it twice
yeah,
because
sure.
I had to.
He always watches
I do.
things twice for this broadcast specifically,
Right.
just so he could be sure about his decision. Now,
Yes.
I'm the one and done viewing kind of person. I would say honestly that you put it perfectly in honest words. Like if you're a diehard fan of Star Wars and you need to know exactly how the storyline goes by, just because like in future storylines they might reference something, you're gonna want to watch this. Is it pivotal to like the more popular storylines or something that I like watching Mandalorian? Honestly, you could just watch episodes 5 and 6 and be done, and you're caught up with what happened for Mandalorian. And everything else that happened there's nothing in the storyline anywhere else that would be relevant. So in that case, yeah, it would be a waste of time. I did enjoy it. For me, it was worth it. But I'm that guy. My brother knows I'm a huge completionist. I will sit and burn through shows just to say I've watched them all, and God help me, I watched them all. So,
You're the one that recommended Troll, right?
Troll Hunters.
well, we'll get on that on another day. So, based on everything that Kim, Angel, myself has said, it sounds like Book of Boba Fett is more like Boba Tea spilt. I've been waiting to use that one.
When did you come up with that? Today?
As he was ranting.
Oh.
Because you say boba, you think of boba tea.
Yeah.
Boba.
And then
You
every
just
time I
add
look
a
at
letter.
Kim, I see boba and then tea.
That's true.
And I say it too, right?
Oh, that sounds good right
I know.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. So that's gonna be it for us. Please share your thoughts.
now.
If you've seen Book of Boba Fett, did you like it? Am I the only one that thinks that this was a waste of time? Could it have been cut down to maybe 6 episodes? Well, yes, it could have been cut down to 6 episodes. I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below, and make sure, as always, hit that subscribe button and also hit that like button. Until next time, I am Angel.
Hamadan. Oh, that's Kim. Hamadan.
Love you guys. You're supposed to say it back.
Oh, love you too.
Love you.
Okay.